Hi, it's Tim Hagen from Progress Coaching, and welcome to another episode of Coaching Conversations. And I wanted to make you aware of something very cool that we're doing on a subscription basis, and we'll put a link in each one of our episodes. But every Wednesday, we're going to be doing what we call an audio podcast workshop. That workshop will be roughly about 14 to maybe 20 minutes per episode, with each month having a theme from a coaching model, using feedback strategically, to coaching self-awareness, and so on. So if you could, look in the body or in the content description of each episode, and you will see a link where you can join this subscription. These are literally 4 workshops every month, teaching specific strategies to address a particular area of workplace coaching, as it relates, again, to things like awareness, motivation, teamwork, and what have you. Here's the cool thing. It's only $10 per month, and each month you will get a handout that we will follow along with. So we also give you a tool for you to take notes as we go through each episode. We hope you'll check it out. We're starting to see more and more in the marketplace information on what we call conversational navigation or conversational intelligence. I think about a leader today and everything he or she must do to navigate conversations, from the millennial who wants to get promoted and they started last Tuesday, or somebody who feels stalled in their career but doesn't know where to go and you have to have a career-based coaching conversation. Or maybe the person who's a veteran who's been passed over a couple times for promotions and now is disgruntled and undermining the team. All of these require conversations. And the reason they require conversations is it'd be great to just go up to somebody and say, "You're not ready for the promotion. Don't let that affect how you feel." And going up to the veteran who's been passed over and saying, "Get over it." And they actually get over it. If it were only that easy. See, the framework of a good conversation is as follows. We ask questions, we listen, we demonstrate listening by actively listening, illustrated by paraphrasing and stating back to somebody what they said. That's a trust builder. Not always offering solutions, but occasionally offering advice and insight. And maintaining emotional intelligence. See, when a millennial comes up to you, let's go back to our first example, and they say, "I saw this job and I really feel like I'm ready and I want to get promoted." And the leader rolls their eyes and leans back and starts laughing and said, "You just started 4 months ago." At that moment, we have run the risk of destroying that employee. Now, if you're listening to this, you might be thinking, "Well, I wouldn't react that way." We are creatures of habit. We give off reactions non-verbally. Here's the amazing thing. When that happens, we have an impact on the people we're conversing with. Now, if we just simply say you're not ready and we walk away because we have another meeting, we've created an impact. On the other hand, we might embrace that and say, "Wow, that's awesome that you feel that good at this stage so early in the game that you feel like you're ready. I want to become your biggest supporter. And before I do that, I want to make sure that you're 100% ready. So where do you feel like you're at now? What are your strengths? What are your opportunities to improve? And describe for me exactly your understanding of that job and Bob, who will be doing the interviewing." Now, the minute, and typically 99% of the time, they're not ready to answer those questions, we can say, "It's interesting. I love your enthusiasm. I'm wondering what will happen if you go into that interview unprepared. Because Bob's a stickler. And if you are not prepared, he'll come after you. Hearing that, what do you think we should do?" That's a good conversation for someone who's not ready for a promotion. Now, let's say we have a veteran who got passed over and they're disgruntled and they're undermining the team, and we sit down, and on one hand, one manager would say, "Hey, look, your attitude stinks. You got to cut it out. You got to get over it. You got to move on." Do we really think by telling someone who's upset to get over it and move on, they're going to say, "You know what? You're right. Boy, my attitude just stinks"? No, they're going to dig their heels in. So one of the things that you can do is have a conversation around walking into the wall without pushing them. So I might sit down with this person and say, okay, Bob, I get how you feel. I understand you feel like you've been passed over. Now I'm going to ask you a question, and I'd like your permission to have a conversation that's really aggressive. I don't want to say that you're wrong for the way you're feeling. I acknowledge how you're feeling. Yet, I want you to be honest with yourself. Would you be okay if I asked you a series of questions? Bob says, well, sure. Honestly, specifically, why do you think you were passed over? Now, if he leads with emotion, you might say, Bob, calmly walk me through your understanding of why you were passed over and how you went about learning that. Because I actually don't know why you were passed over. Someone else got the job, whether fair or unfair, and the way you're reacting, have you given thought that that might be supporting their decision? The way you're interacting with your teammates now, that might be supporting that decision. And maybe what we could do to turn things around, to move in the right direction, so when the next promotion comes up, I will be your biggest advocate. Hearing that, what do you think we need to do together going forward? Now, again, these are just conversation sound bites. Conversation skills require practice and know-how, but not literal interpretation. I cannot tell you after 26 years of teaching our program, Progress Coaching, where I've had people come up and say, I used your questions. The guy still has a really crappy attitude. This isn't about fixing people. Coaching is about holding up a mirror, hopefully getting people to open their eyes to look in the mirror, and then number 2, to take action in what they see. So here's another conversational framework for you called dovetailing. So if we have someone who's lacking time management, what do we tend to do? We sit down and go, Laura, your time management is lacking. You've got to manage your time better. Yet what if we created momentum in the conversation, such as, Laura, one of the things I love about working with you, actually a couple things. One, you know our products and services. You're an incredible teammate. You really know our procedures and our systems. And I think about adding time management to those list of strengths. How do you think we would go about doing that? Where do you feel like you have strengths and where do you feel like you have opportunities as it relates to time management? Would you mind if I created a perspective of where I think your time management could really be elevated to become one of those strengths we alluded to before? So think about it. Which one of those scenarios would you react to more favorably? So conversational excellence, navigation, intelligence isn't always knowing verbatim what to say, yet having a framework of having a conversation that gets someone to look in the mirror comfortably and takes action on what they see. It requires us to know questions, how to build motivation within the conversation by leveraging strengths to create that momentum that gets them to move in the direction of holding up the mirror. But if we just hold up that mirror and say, I got to tell you something, Gary, your attitude sucks. Gary's not going to come around the desk and say, wow, thank you so much for the revelation. Could I hug and kiss you? Now, my Irish humor and sarcasm probably doesn't help. Yet we tend to think we want to fix people. And so often when we're practicing with our clients, I'll have a client say, what if they say this? What if they say this? What if they say this? I said, those are great questions. And they'll look at me amazing because what they're asking for is, what's the right answer? There is no right answer. We're dealing with people. Your job as a coach is to give perspective, to give thought, to get them thinking differently so they take action to move forward positively. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 10 conversations. It depends on the person. Thank you for listening to another episode of Coaching Conversations by Tim Hagan and Progress Coaching. Now, our company is always coming out with new and innovative solutions to help leaders coach their employees. And recently, we just created a new service called Coach to You, where leaders can pick and choose topics and assign 7 to 21-day programs for employees to learn and, more importantly, apply actions and then reflect and share what they're going to do going forward as a result of the learning. It's called Coach to You. We're literally bringing coaching to your employees. If you're intrigued, we'll have a link in each one of our episodes where you can get more information. And again, thank you so much for listening to another episode.